Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the quadratic formula. And not how to use the quadratic formula, but why do we use the quadratic formula? Where in the world does it come from? And we're going to derive the quadratic formula in this video. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start over here on the left side where we see our standard form for our quadratic. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And we're going to change it into our quadratic formula, which is x equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over or all divided by 2a. Okay, we're going to do this by completing the square. So if you want to remember how to complete the square, I'll link the card to that video in the right hand corner right now. Well, let's go through it. So we're going to start over here on the left. And remember, when we complete the square, we want x squared plus bx by itself. So to start off, let's subtract c from both sides. So now we have ax squared plus bx equals negative c. Well, we don't want ax squared, we just want x squared. So we need to divide all terms by a. So now we have x squared plus b divided by a, x equals negative c over a. And now we can complete the square for what's on the left side of our equation. So remember, to complete the square, we're going to say x squared plus b over ax plus, I'm going to leave a little bit of space right there, because remember, when we complete the square, whatever we add to one side of the equation, we have to also add that same thing to the right side of the equation. So in order for us to find, or to complete the square, we're going to do b divided by 2, and we're going to square it. Okay? Well, right now, b is b divided by a, right? So kind of follow with me here. So we're going to do b divided by a divided by 2 squared. So that looks really weird, right? It's a complex fraction. So let's go ahead and simplify that a little bit. So it's b over a divided by 2, right? That's what that is inside the parentheses. So if we think, okay, this would be the same as b divided by a times 1/2. Okay, right? Keep, flip, change. So now we have b divided by 2a, and we can square that. So that's going to give us b squared divided by 4a squared, right? So we give the exponent of a 2 to the b, we give it to the 2, we give it to the a. So b squared over 4a squared. So that's what I'm going to add right here. b squared over 4a squared. And I'm going to do that to both sides. Okay, so now we're ready on the left side to factor our perfect square trinomial as the square of a binomial. So we're going to factor it as x plus, in parentheses, and it's going to be, remember, b divided by 2, or what we had before we squared our value over here. So this is going to be x plus b over 2a, quantity squared, equals, and we can just leave this side for right now, negative c over a. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and add these. Save us some room. So on the left side, if we want to add these fractions, we have to have a common denominator. Well, our fraction on the right has a denominator of 4a squared, and our fraction on the left has a denominator of a. So let's multiply our left fraction by 4a over 4a. Okay, so what that's going to give us is now negative 4ac over 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. So now we can simplify that, and we're going to say x plus b over 2a squared equals, now since both of these fractions have the same denominator, we can combine them and write them, the numerators together, over 4a squared. And if we look up here at the top, notice we have b squared minus 4ac. So that's how I'm going to write this. Instead of negative 4ac plus b squared, I'm just going to flip those. So now we have b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Now we can take the square root of both sides to get rid of this exponent of a 2, right? So that will cancel there. And we're going to take the square root of both sides, and remember, this is positive or negative since we are introducing the square root. So now we have x plus b over 2a is equal to positive or negative. The square root of the numerator we can't do anything to, so that's going to still be b squared minus 4ac. But our denominator, we can take the square root of 4, we get 2. The square root of a squared is a. So now we have x plus b over 2a equals positive or negative square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we're almost done. The last thing we need to do is subtract b over 2a from both sides. Okay, so we're going to bring it up here. And so now we have x equals, and look what we have. Two fractions being added together with the same denominator, so we can write them, the numerators together, over a denominator of 2a. So I'm going to write this, and I'm going to switch them again because of our formula having negative b listed first. So I'm going to say x is equal to opposite of b, or negative b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, and now I can write this all divided by 2a. And there we have our quadratic formula. And that's how you derive the quadratic formula from a standard form quadratic using completing the square.